Yo, it's your boy Ryan, Northwest Sports Fanatics. Back at you with a new video. Today is Saturday, October 25th, 2025, with your boy Ryan and the Northwest Sports Fanatics. Make sure you guys subscribe to the channel. Smash that like button either now or on your way out. Donate to your boy if you can. Cash App $ ORIONNWSF or the YouTube Super Chat right here. We got the Los Angeles Dodgers versus the Toronto Blue Jays, World Series game number 2. First pitch is going to be here in just a few minutes. So let's cue up the music, take a look at the thumb, and let's get into the starting lineups. Happy Saturday, everyone. And on the thumb, on the left, one of the best players in the game. It's showtime, Shohei Ohtani. And on the right, the Toronto Blue Jay stud, Bo Bichette. Now let's get into the starting lineups here first for the visiting Los Angeles Dodgers. Leading off for the Dodgers at DH, Shohei Ohtani. Batting second, playing shortstop for LA, Mookie Betts. Batting third, playing first base, Freddie Freeman. Batting cleanup, batting fourth, catching today for the Dodgers, Will Smith. Batting fifth, playing right field, Teoscar Hernandez. Batting sixth, playing third base, Max Muncy. Batting seventh, playing left field, Kike Hernandez. Batting eighth, playing second base, Tommy Edman. And batting ninth, playing center field, Andy Pages. And on the mound for the Dodgers is Yoshinobu Yamamoto. And now let's get into the starting lineup for the home Toronto Blue Jays. Leading off for the Blue Jays at DH, George Springer. Batting second, playing left field, Nathan Lucas. Batting third, playing first base, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Batting cleanup, batting fourth, catching today for the Blue Jays, Alejandro Kirk. Batting fifth, playing center field, Dalton Varsho. Batting sixth, playing third base, Ernie Clement. Batting seventh, playing right field, Addison Barger. Batting eighth, playing second base, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. And batting ninth, playing shortstop, Andres Jimenez. And on the mound for the Toronto Blue Jays will be Kevin Gausman. We're going to be shooting for 100 likes, 100 on the Dono train, and 5 to 15 subs. We only need 18 subs, and we'll be at 23,200. Nomad in the building, what's good? Lenny D in the building, what's good? Julie in the building, what's good? Age in the building, what's good? Marine Bean in the building, what's good? Shop Girl in the building, what's good? Hubertus in the building, what's good? Woody in the building, what's good? Yeah, I think a lot of us, are in that same boat, whether you're, a Yankee fan, a Brewer fan, a Mariner fan. We were all, had dreams of playing in this particular matchup. And again, obviously the Blue Jays had to go to Game 7, but that didn't really cause any damage to them. If anything, it shows you the Dodgers bullpen is their biggest weakness, during the regular season and obviously in the postseason. Now, the Brewers weren't able to take advantage of that, but the Toronto Blue Jays sure as hell did in game number 1. And again, a game that started off with a early, 2-0 lead. For Los Angeles, it looked pretty good early on. And then you ended up getting that 2-run blast by Dalton Varsho to tie it up. And then it was just Blue Jays the rest of the way and a huge blowout, 11-4 final in game 1. And now, obviously, instead of people thinking, Dodgers in 4, Dodgers in 5, now it kind of looks like, depending on what happens today, that we could actually get, Blue Jays in 6 or Blue Jays in 7. Like that could, actually be possible. Who knows? Maybe even Blue Jays in 5. I mean, we'll have to really see how Toronto adapts, from playing at home and then going to Los Angeles, because, it's a huge home field advantage for each team. But again, there are not a whole lot of weaknesses for the Blue Jays at this point. Their bullpen has some issues as well, but not as much as Los Angeles. And obviously the bats have come alive for Toronto in game 1. Will the bats come alive for the Dodgers in game 2? We will find out here momentarily. Rob in the building, what's good? And shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. Oregon and Wisconsin battling it out 0-0 in the second quarter. And, I'm not really surprised. Again, not every game in college football is going to end up the way that people think. Even if a team doesn't have that many wins, if you end up, taking an opponent for granted, or you just start slow, and again, should Oregon have, points on the board at this point? Of course. Should they be up 17-0 or 14-0? Of course. But again, you got to give Wisconsin credit. They played the Ducks really well last year, and gave them a little bit of a scare. And obviously they're playing motivated ball. They're in Autzen here this afternoon, and that game started about an hour ago. And, we'll see what happens in the matchup. I got that on another TV here in the studio, and we'll see if they can come up with the victory wearing the Grateful Ducks, the tribute to the Grateful Dead. And it looks like we're going to get ready for first pitch here as they get through all of these commercials just in a minute or two. World Series game number 2, Los Angeles Dodgers versus the Toronto Blue Jays. Yoshinobu Yamamoto versus Kevin Gossman. I got the drone shot going into the stadium. Shohei Ohtani making his way into the box. On deck will be shortstop Mookie Betts. And batting third, first baseman Freddie Freeman. And obviously it's not common to have 3 Hall of Famers starting off in your first 3 positions in baseball, but that's what the Dodgers are going to give you. And on the mound for the Blue Jays will be Kevin Gossman. Yeah, I mean, obviously, with the World Series, it going 7 games would be the most ideal, but at least going 6, you have to feel that based on the Blue Jays winning game 1, there's a very good possibility of that happening, Blue Jays in 6, Blue Jays in 7, or Dodgers in 6, Dodgers in 7. So obviously the longer it goes, the more money that they make, but it also gives us one more game to be able to enjoy before we go into the off season, where we have a 4-month countdown before we get into spring training for the Mariners, as well as the regular season for Seattle. All right, we're just about ready to get into first pitch here in just a moment or two. And shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. Got a few new ones that will be debuting here today. And, I'm always going to support my friends when they have dreams and goals. Shout out to my boy Brooks Beats, the best beats on YouTube. Top of the first inning, 0-0 Dodgers and Blue Jays. And we are just about ready to get started as Shohei makes his walk up to the box. And again, he ended up hitting a home run, later in the matchup. And again, we're going to need more from the Dodgers than just Shohei Ohtani. There's going to have to be, individuals that are going to step up. And obviously the Blue Jays have been very good in the 7, 8, and 9 hole. Everyone expects the 1, 2, 3 to get a lot of production, as well as the middle of the order, the 4, 5, and 6. But a lot of times, if you dominate in the 7, 8, 9, that'll lead you to a victory. First pitch from Gausman to Ohtani, takes a strike looking on the corner. Probably should have been called ball. It's a little outside, but he gets the strike call. Gausman, 0-1 count. And a good frame job there by Alejandro Kirk at catcher, 0-1 count. Ohtani in the box, Gausman on the mound. 0-1 pitch, takes a strike looking right down the middle. Four-seam fastball with some good velocity, 95 miles an hour to Shohei Ohtani. Top of the first inning, 0-0, Dodgers and Blue Jays. And his strikeout percentage is 10% higher than it is in the regular season, and Shohei definitely needs to cut that back. 0-2 pitch, and popped up into left field, and good defense there by the Blue Jays, and that is 1 away. TJ in the building, what's good? Next up for the Dodgers will be shortstop Mookie Betts. On deck will be Freddie Freeman. First pitch from Gausman to Betts, low and away. Four-seam fastball, 95 miles an hour. On the corner, on the line. Could have gone either way, strike or ball. But they call it a ball on that first pitch, 1-0 count. 1-0 pitch, takes a strike looking right down the middle, but low in the zone. Four-seam fastball, 94 miles an hour by Gausman. Got some good velocity, 94 to 96 so far with his pitches. 1 ball and 1 strike to Mookie Betts. 1-1 pitch, takes a strike looking low and away, paints that corner beautifully. Slider off speed, 85 miles an hour. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Mookie Betts. Top of the first inning, 0-0 here early in the World Series game number 2. 1-2 pitch, low and away, missing the zone by a few inches there with the slider again. 85 miles an hour by Gausman. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Mookie Betts. Oh, always go M's all day, every day. Just because, we're doing a World Series stream doesn't mean that the gear, comes off and we just wear, regular clothes. The Seattle Mariners are going to be repped all day, all night, 24/7, 365. 2-2 pitch in play, this time into right field, and good defense there, and that is 2 away. Gausman getting his first 2 batters, Ohtani to pop up into left field, Mookie to pop up in right field, 2 away. Next up is Freddie Freeman. First pitch from Gausman to Freeman, low and away, 1-0 count. Splitter off speed, 84 miles an hour, 1-0 count. 1-0 pitch in the zone, should have been called strike, low and at the knees, in the zone with the splitter, but Gausman does not get the call. 2 balls and no strikes to Freddie Freeman, should be 1 ball and 1 strike. So again, we have seen a little bit questionable strike zone here early from this ump, and we will see if they end up calling it right down the middle for both teams this particular way or not. 1-1 pitch, should have been, but it's a 2-0 pitch, takes a strike looking on the corner. 1 ball and 2 strikes from Gausman to Freeman. 2-1 pitch, takes a big swing and a miss, low and away. 2 balls and 2 strikes with nobody on and 2 outs. 0-0 here early between the Dodgers and the Blue Jays. 2-2 pitch, fouled off, low and away. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 outs with nobody on. Gossman on the mound, Freeman in the box. World Series game number 2. Top of the first inning, 0-0 here early. 2-2 pitch, fouled off, high and away. In the zone, 4-seam fastball, 94 miles an hour there by Gossman. And that fades out of play. Good souvenir for that fan about 10 rows back. Now, there definitely are going to be some pitches that are going to be in the box that are going to be called ball. And obviously stuff that's outside that should be called ball, but will be called strike. So we'll see where this goes. 2-2 pitch, fouled off, high and inside. 4-seam fastball, 95 miles an hour by Gossman. 2 balls, 2 strikes, nobody on and 2 out. 0-0 here early in the top of the first with 2 outs. Gossman on the mound, Freddie Freeman in the box. Two-two pitch in play all the way into right field, and Freddie is going to get a double out of that nice base knock. You know, and Freddie's one of those guys that, you know, can extend a count and then find that perfect pitch to be able to get a single or double. Nice job there by Freddie Freeman. Next up is catcher Will Smith. First pitch, fouls it off right down the middle with a 4-seam fastball, 94 miles an hour, 0-1 count. And obviously the Dodgers are banking on, you know, Yamamoto being better than Snell, you know, and hopefully he goes 8 innings. That's, you know, what they probably would want. So that way they don't have to have a meltdown with multiple guys. You know, if Yamamoto ends up going out in the 5th or the 6th and they have to play 3 or 4 guys in the pen, then we may have a similar score than we had yesterday. But if Yamamoto can go 7, 8 innings, you know, depending on how many runs they have at that point, you know, that could be good for Los Angeles. And a big hit right up the middle, and that is going to bring Freddie Freeman home, and the Dodgers score first again, 1-0 Los Angeles. And it's not, you know, how you start, it's how you finish. Remember, they did have a 2-0 lead yesterday. Then Varsho hit a 2-run blast, and then it was all Blue Jays after that. But the Dodgers, you know, feeling maybe a little bit more comfortable, you know, hit Gossman here, and they're able to get a nice RBI from Will Smith. Next up is Teoscar Hernandez. Yeah, I definitely think the Mariners would have matched up very well, just like Blue Jays are matching up very well at this point as well. You know, if you can knock around their starting pitcher, you know their bullpen is weak, and that's really the only weakness the Dodgers have, you know, especially with their, you know, $350+ million payroll. You know, they got 3 Hall of Famers in the first 3 spots in the lineup. They got an amazing squad, you know, but just because, you know, you have those pieces there doesn't mean that the team is strong top to bottom. There are a few holes in the team that, you know, the Blue Jays will try to exploit. 1-0 pitch, takes a big swing and a miss, low and at the knees. Teoscar was going for a big home run swing or a big RBI swing there. 1 ball and 1 strike to Teoscar Hernandez, former Mariner and Blue Jay, now Dodger. 1-1 pitch, fouled off, low and at the knees with the splitter. 1 ball and 2 strikes with a runner at first and 2 outs, 1-0 Los Angeles. And again, you know, a lot of teams after getting crushed, you know, in game 1, maybe would start off really slow, you know, and not get on the board until maybe the 4th, 5th, 6th inning, but not Los Angeles. They got enough pieces that they can battle back game in and game out. 1-2 pitch, big swing and a miss, and down goes Teoscar, and that is the end of the inning for the Toronto Blue Jays. Not a perfect inning, you know, obviously gave up the big hit to Freddie Freeman and the RBI to Will Smith, and let's see if the Blue Jays can tie the game up here in the bottom of the first inning. Leading off for the Blue Jays in the bottom of the first inning, DHing George Springer. Batting second, left fielder Nathan Lucas. And batting third, first baseman Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And on the mound for the Dodgers will be phenom Yoshinobu Yamamoto. And shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. Yeah, I think not only next season is going to be exciting, I think every season moving forward for like the next 10 or 20 years are going to be exciting. You know, we had that 20-year gap, you know, where we didn't make the playoffs. We've made the playoffs and have actually been able to win games in the playoffs, you know, 2 times in the last 3 years. So again, you know, the expectation now, you know, is to win the AL West, you know, or at least try to every single year, and then try to make the playoffs and, you know, try to be able to make the ALCS and then the, you know, obviously the World Series. So, you know, I think that, you know, it was heartbreaking to lose the way that we did, you know, in ALCS Game 7, 3 innings away from being in the position Toronto is in right now. But again, a lot of times in sports, you know, you got to crawl before you walk. You got to lose big before you win big. It's not often that, you know, you never make the playoffs and then all of a sudden you get good enough in 1 year and then you go all the way. It's very, very rare. You know, most of the time you have to build and then eventually you'll end up getting there. And, you know, again, it was definitely heartbreaking, but I think, again, you know, if you would have told a lot of Mariner fans at the beginning of the season that they would actually win the AL West for the first time in, you know, 20 plus years and actually win a couple rounds, you know, and, you know, get to the ALCS and, you know, take it to Game 7, I think most Mariner fans would be very happy with that result, not the end result of Game 7, but getting to Game 7. And again, once we modify the roster next year, you know, things could be much better. Bottom of the first inning, 1-0 Los Angeles. And congratulations to the Huskies with their victory here early today. And hopefully the Ducks will be able to be victorious as well. They're tied up at 0 in the second quarter. Not playing very well against Wisconsin at home. And we'll see if they can get some points on the board, obviously here before halftime or in the second half. A little alarming, but I'm not surprised. First pitch from Yamamoto to Springer. Big swing and a miss. 0-1 count. Splitter, 91 miles an hour there by Yamamoto. 0-1 pitch. Big swing and a miss right down the middle. No balls and 2 strikes from Yamamoto to Springer. 0-2 pitch. Fouls it off high and away. No balls and 2 strikes to George Springer. And shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. And, you know, the continued support that we get, you know, from individuals on the channel. You know, I want to make sure that I can support him, you know, in his dreams and goals as well. So as we get into next month, you know, based on the donations that we get, I'm going to help him expand some of his software that he needs to be able to come up with more sounds, to be able to make more, you know, custom beats. And I plan on trying to help him with that. So anything that we get support wise, obviously, you know, today all the way going into next month, a lot of that will go towards, you know, that goal for him. And a big hit by Springer all the way back to the left field wall. Strong throw to second base, but not in time. And George Springer with a leadoff double for the Toronto Blue Jays. Nice job by Springer. Next up is Nathan Lucas. Yeah, it's crazy how much, you know, software costs, you know, for things that you're trying to do online or, you know, in music. You know, a lot of those, you know, software, you know, packages that you have to buy, they're not like 25 or 50 bucks. They're usually 200 or 300. So, and a little pop up and Springer pumps the brakes at third base, and a nice job by Nathan Lucas with that little bloop single right up the middle. And now you got runners at first and third with no outs. Nice job by George Springer, as well as Nathan Lucas. Next up, first baseman Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And obviously, Blue Jay fans could think of no better result than Vladdy going yard and going up 3-1 here in the bottom of the first inning. First pitch from Yamamoto to Vladdy, low and at the knees with a splitter, 90 miles an hour, 1-0 count. One-0 pitch, sinker, low and at the knees. 2 balls and no strikes from Yamamoto to Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Splitter at 90 on pitch 1, sinker at 96 on pitch 2. And Yamamoto's got about 5 or 6 different pitches that he can go through. But again, he's got to be calculated here against a very hot Toronto Blue Jay roster. 2-0 pitch, big swing and a miss right down the middle with the splitter, 92 miles an hour by Yamamoto. 2 balls and 1 strike with runners on the corners at first and third with no outs. Big swing and a miss, low and at the knees. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Vladimir Guerrero Jr. I mean, obviously an RBI single or an RBI double would be great as well. See if Vladdy can come up with the big play or if Yamamoto can come up with the big out. 2 balls, 2 strikes, runners on the corners at first and third with no outs. 1-0 Dodger lead with a Will Smith RBI for Freddie Freeman to come home in the top of the first. And now we have Springer at third, Lucas at first. 2-2 pitch, fouled off. Low and at the hips. Splitter, 92 miles an hour by Yamamoto. 2 balls and 2 strikes. As that one goes foul towards that third base line. Runners on the corners with no outs here in the bottom of the first. Two-two pitch, fouled off, low and at the knees. Splitter, 92 miles an hour by Yamamoto again. 2 balls, 2 strikes, runners on the corners with no outs. Bottom of the first, 1-0 Dodger lead. And Vladdy is grinding out this at-bat, just like Freddie Freeman did in his at-bat in the top of the first inning. Two-two pitch, big swing and a miss right down the middle, and that's a huge punch out there for Yamamoto. And that is 1 away. Way to bring the electricity, Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Down goes Vladdy, but again, he's so good, eventually he's going to come up big, you would assume at some point later in the game. Next up is catcher Alejandro Kirk. First pitch, low and at the knees with the splitter. 92 miles an hour there by Yamamoto, 1-0 count. Blue Jay in the building, what's good? And shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. We got a couple new debuts that we'll be making here today, which will be nice. And he's such a very motivated, type of individual. So again, not many individuals can make something worthwhile in a day. And he's been pumping out a beat about a day for the last 2 months, and I'm very proud of him. 2-0 pitch, fouled off, low and at the knees. 2 balls and 1 strike to Alejandro Kirk. Best part about him too is that, you get some beat makers and a lot of their stuff sounds the same. With him, he's got such a variety and such a great sound, that nothing really sounds that similar. Most of them are quite a bit different, and he definitely has a great sound for the beats. 2 balls and 1 strike to Alejandro Kirk. Bottom of the first inning, runners on the corners at first and third with 1 out. 1-0 Dodger lead with a Will Smith RBI for Freddie Freeman to come home in the top of the first inning. 2-1 pitch in play. And Freddie Freeman with some great defense there on that line drive, and that is 2 away. Next up, center fielder Dalton Varsho. Big 2-run blast yesterday to tie the game up 2-2, and the Blue Jays had the momentum at that point moving forward for the rest of the game. First pitch, low and at the knees, 1-0 count. One-0 pitch, high and inside. 2 balls and no strikes to Dalton Varsho. Bottom of the first inning, runners on the corners at first and third with 2 outs, 1-0 Dodger lead. Yamamoto on the mound, Varsho in the box. Two-0 pitch, low and at the knees. 3 balls and no strikes to Dalton Varsho. Yoshinobu Yamamoto on the mound. Dalton Varsho in the box. 3-0 pitch, takes a strike looking low and away. Could have been called ball as well, right there on the corner and on the line. 3 balls and 1 strike to Dalton Varsho. 3-1 pitch. Fouls it off, high and inside. 3 balls and 2 strikes. Count now is full with runners on the corners and 2 outs. Yeah, first and third with no outs, and if they're able to get out of this unscathed, that would be obviously big for Los Angeles. And, you don't want to leave too many guys stranded. And obviously we know that as Mariner fans. And Varsho strikes out looking right down the middle. And Yoshinobu coming up huge here in the first inning. Much better than Blake Snell when he had 30 pitches in the first inning yesterday. End of the first inning, 1-0 Dodgers. Let's see who's up next here for Los Angeles in the top of the second. Leading off for the Dodgers in the 6th hole, third baseman Max Muncy. Batting second in the 7th hole, left fielder Kike Hernandez. And batting third, second baseman Tommy Edman. No spamming the chat. Last warning. Looks like the Ducks are just about to get their first touchdown, maybe, with about a minute 30 to go. 0-0 Wisconsin and Oregon. Yeah, and based on the support that we get, from individuals in the room, my goal is to be able to help them out with some, high-end beat software. The program costs $250. And I told them, if I work hard and, by next month, if we can split the cost and pay $125 each. So you can end up getting one of these really high-end, pieces of software to have more access to, more beats and, more options. I want to be able to see my friend have success. And so, some of the obviously donations that we get from now until the middle of next month will go towards that. And that's very exciting for me, that when you can end up helping out your friends, when they have dreams and goals and, we can work together, it definitely puts a smile to my face. End of the first inning, 1-0 Dodgers. First pitch to Muncy, takes a strike looking, low and in the zone. Four-seam fastball, 93 miles an hour by Kevin Gossman, 0-1 count. Oh, 1 pitch, and Muncy flies out to left, and that is 1 away. Next up is left fielder Kike Hernandez. And I appreciate that. It doesn't have to be just TJ. It could be Alec and Rob and any other individual that's a regular, that can help us get the numbers up. Obviously, I'll keep tabs with the new subs. And if we can just get a little help, obviously, with the likes. And then we'll get the donos when they come in. Appreciate every single individual in the room and all the new subs that we've acquired in 2025. First pitch to Kike Hernandez, takes a strike looking, high and away, 0-1 count. 0-1 pitch, low and away, splitter missing, 85 miles an hour, 1 ball and 1 strike to Kike Hernandez. Gossman on the mound. Kike in the box. 1-1 pitch, low and away, splitter missing, off speed, 84 miles an hour. 2 balls and 1 strike with nobody on and 1 out. Dodgers hanging on to a 1-0 lead here early in the top of the second inning. The thing is, some people, are going to be rooting for the American League, if you're an American League fan. But again, also some people are not going to be rooting on the Blue Jays because they beat the Mariners. Same thing goes like maybe for Yankee fans. So obviously my situation is a little bit different because my dad, grew up in LA and has been a Dodger fan since the 50s. So I'm not a Dodger fan myself, but my dad has been a loyal fan since like the Sandy Koufax era in the 50s. So obviously for me, I would rather the Dodgers go back to back and win rather than the Blue Jays. Personally, but again, based on, anyone's fandom, if you're a Mariner fan or not, some are going to be rooting for the American League and will be rooting for the Blue Jays. And some Mariner fans are not going to be rooting for Toronto for the simple fact that they beat us in ALCS Game 7. So 2-2 pitch in play, and Kike pops out to second, and that is 2 away. But I mean, for me, I typically can't usually root for a team that's, in the same division as the Mariners. So, it's I don't have 2 or 3, favorite teams like some people do. For me, it's like I got one team, for all of the, teams that I root for in sports. I don't have a second favorite team in any sport. So, and again, some people do. Obviously I'll root for the Dodgers for my dad. Maybe not when they're playing the Mariners, but, everyone's situation will be a little bit different. But there's no way in hell I can root for Toronto after beating Seattle in Game 7. Just can't do it. Honestly, for me, if I didn't even have the relationship with my dad being a Dodger fan, I would just, I'm going to watch it and enjoy it. But it's kind of like a lose-lose situation for a lot of us, where it's like you don't really want either one to win, right? It's like you already saw the Dodgers win last year. Do you really want them to win again? And then obviously, depending on, if you're a Mariner fan or a Yankee fan, you're probably not really wanting the Blue Jays to win either. So 1-0 pitch, high and away. 2 balls and no strikes to Tommy Edman. Two-0 pitch, low and away. 3 balls and no strikes to Tommy Edman. Yeah, I mean, even if the Blue Jays win and it makes them look better that the Mariners lost to them, but again, they're rivals, it's like us rooting for the Houston Astros. Would Mariners be rooting for the Houston Astros right now if they were playing the Dodgers? Fuck no. So again, it really depends, how deep the rivalry is. And the Blue Jay rivalry is starting to get to the point of the Houston, kind of territory. We've already played them in 2022 and we beat them. They got us back in ALCS Game 7, in 2025. But again, it may be a little bit more cordial and a little bit more friendly. But if we keep matching up with them in the future, it's going to turn pretty heated and it's going to become, the new Houston Astros, minus the cheating, obviously. And so, that's kind of my take on it. As Edman strikes out swinging, and that is out number 3. Mike in the building, what's good? But again, like I said, depending on how you feel and, there's different levels of fandom. If someone is, a fair weather fan, a bandwagon fan, just a guy or a girl that watches once in a while, yeah, you might root for the Blue Jays, but again, if you're a Mariner fan and you're diehard and you've been a fan for a long time, most of those fans, like myself, are not going to be able to root for Toronto, unfortunately. But I'm not really rooting for the Dodgers necessarily either. Obviously I would want the Mariners to be there, but again, everyone's got their own way of thinking, based on, if you're in the big game or if you're not. So. Let's go to the bottom of the second inning, 1-0 Dodgers. Next up for the Blue Jays, in the 6th hole, third baseman Ernie Clement. Batting second in the 7th hole, right fielder Addison Barger. And batting third, second baseman in the 8th hole, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. And shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. And this is a brand new one that he made last night, and I'm glad we have a good relationship, so that way that we're able to debut new music for you guys pretty much every day. All right, Oregon 7, Wisconsin 0 with 55 seconds left in the second quarter. And hopefully when that matchup is over, they'll be like the Huskies and victorious this Saturday evening. And again, I was kind of expecting a slow start, but I did not expect 7-0 with 1 minute to go in the second quarter. But hopefully they'll make the adjustments in the second half. Next up in the box, here in the bottom of the second, is Ernie Clement. On the mound, Yoshinobu Yamamoto. And first pitch popped up, and Freeman misses it. Wow. Bonehead play there. You had 3 players and the pitcher, and Freddie ends up going one step, too far, reaches back and misses the easy out. Unexcusable. You would assume that's an error. What are you doing, Freddie? Next up, right fielder who hit the grand salami. Coming off the bench, right fielder Addison Barger. One-0 pitch, takes a strike looking high and away. 1 ball and 1 strike to Addison Barger. And it's one thing where, anybody could make like a beat a day, but can you actually make good beats every day and be original, and come up with, things, based on how you're feeling. And that's really the difference between him and a lot of other individuals that are out there. 2-1 pitch, takes a strike looking high and away, paints that corner beautifully. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Addison Barger. But I'm very excited, once we get into next month and, we both invest, in his dreams and goals, and he ends up getting that new software, it's expensive, $250. That's a lot, But again, I can only imagine the type of music he'll be able to make, once he has access to all those extra things in the software. It's going to be pretty sweet to be able to see what he comes up with, not only next month, but every day moving forward, pretty much as we do this channel. 2-2 pitch, low and away. 3 balls and 2 strikes to Addison Barger. 3-2 pitch, and takes strike 3 looking right down the middle, and that is 1 away. Down goes Barger. And a nice punch out there by Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Down goes Barger. Next up is second baseman Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. First pitch to Kiner-Falefa, pops up into center field, and Pajes is there, and that is 2 away. And this is another new one from 2 days ago. So again, he's been on a heater. And again, if you can end up, making big changes in your life, and you stop partying and you eat healthier and you exercise and stop hanging around, bad influences, and you start focusing on your dreams and goals, you can be really productive. And I think both myself and, Brooks have done that. And it's just really proud to be able to see someone that has incredible talent, be able to continue to take steps in the right direction. First pitch to Jimenez, takes a strike looking high and away, 0-1 count. Appreciate that, Dio. And 0-1 pitch, little slow dribbler. Throw to first, and Freddie's got it. Toe tap on the bag, and that is out number 3. Oregon 7, Wisconsin 0 at halftime. A little bit disappointing of a score, but at least they're not down 7-0, I guess. Let's see who's up next for the Dodgers here in the top of the 3rd inning. Next up for the Dodgers in the 9-hole, center fielder Andy Pajes. Batting second, 0 for 1, DHing Shohei Ohtani. And batting third, 0 for 1, shortstop Mookie Betts. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on the Dono train. So we can support not only my dreams, but Brooks Beats' dreams as well. And we only need 18 subs to be able to get to 23,200 subs. Let's go. Yeah, Bo not in the lineup, but there is a good chance that he might, end up pinch hitting, and coming in later in the matchup. So we'll see how that all plays out, for the Toronto Blue Jays. And I was thinking about just putting Vladdy, or I could have went like Springer and whatnot, but I wanted to make sure that Bo gets a little bit of love for the Blue Jay fan base since he's been out for a good chunk of the year, and obviously started yesterday, and we'll see if he ends up getting a chance to get in the game at some point here today. They may end up needing him. He's not on the injury report, so I think that they just decided to go, obviously they didn't have Barger or Kiner Falefa, in the lineup, and Kiner Falefa normally plays second, and usually, for Bichette, he plays shortstop. So he played second base yesterday for the first time since like 2019 when he was in the farm system, and he actually did a pretty good job, but again, not really the natural position for him. So they decided to go with Kiner Falefa, which is maybe of a more natural position for him. But again, as we know, there's going to be, utility guys that can, play multiple positions, but again, if you are going to play multiple, we hope that you're good at playing multiple positions, not necessarily like Dylan Moore for the Mariners. Yeah, he could play multiple positions, but really wasn't the greatest at a lot of them. First pitch from Gausman to Pages, high and inside, 1-0 count. One-0 pitch, takes a strike, looking right down the middle by Gausman. Four-seam fastball, 93 miles an hour. 1 ball and 1 strike to Andy Pages. I wouldn't be shocked if Bo ends up pinch hitting, later in this game. And if we don't see him at all, he'll definitely be playing, you would assume, in game 3, game 4. And Pages grounds out to second, little throw to first, and that is 1 away. Yeah, I thought Bo did pretty good for, not playing the position in 6 years, and being injured for a good chunk of the year, missing many, many games, and he actually did a pretty good. Next up for the Dodgers, 0 for 1, Shohei Ohtani. First pitch from Gausman to Ohtani, takes a strike, looking low and away, 0-1 count. Top of the third inning, 1-0 Los Angeles. 0-1 pitch, low and away with the splitter, 85 miles an hour. Missing it by a few inches there. 1 ball and 1 strike to Shohei Ohtani. Ohtani in the box. Kevin Gausman on the mound. 1-1 pitch, and Ohtani fouls out to third, and that is 2 away. Down goes Shohei. Next up is Mookie Betts. And Ohtani has been struggling in the postseason, but at any given moment, he can heat up. So again, when you end up having a player like that, you would like a little bit more consistency, out of Shohei. But again, when he ended up pitching in game 4, what did he have? 10 Ks and 3 home runs, and they got the job done. And Mookie on the first pitch, slow dribbler, throw to first, and that is out number 3. Good defense there by the Blue Jays. Now they need to be able to get a home run or back-to-back hits to see if they can get themselves tied up with a 1-1 score. Let's go to the bottom of the third inning and see if the Blue Jays can tie this game up or take the lead. Next up for the Blue Jays, 1-for-1, DHing George Springer. Batting second, 1-for-1, left fielder Nathan Lucas. And batting third, 0-for-1 with a K, first baseman Vladimir Guerrero Jr. So since they're going to be traveling to LA after today, we will be doing Sunday Night Football with the Steelers hosting the Packers, Aaron Rodgers versus Jordan Love. That will be the stream for tomorrow night. And then we will do the World Series Game 3, Game 4, Game 5 on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. I assume Thursday Night Football. And then if it goes to Game 6, Game 7, that will be on Friday and Saturday. So it'll be a little bit of NFL mixed in with the World Series. And then once the World Series is over, we'll transition more into the NFL, college football. And then in the middle of the week, as we're waiting for football, NFL or college, we may end up doing NBA or NHL, depending on what's going on at that particular day. So bottom of the third inning, 1-0 Dodgers. Let him know, TJ. Appreciate you. TJ says we need 13 to get to 50. And then again, as the game, gets tied up, or, I assume if the Blue Jays end up making some big plays, we'll get a spike in viewership. And, at some point we should be able to break over 100 in the room, especially if the Blue Jays, get hot at some point in this matchup. So just like they did yesterday. And we ended up having, good views. Started off a little slow, and then it kind of picked up, but we're still able, to typically get 10 to 20,000 views, even if it's not a Mariner stream, just based on what we're able to do here. And, I'm able to showcase the skill set, obviously, that Brooks has, as well as myself. And, it's a great partnership that we have. And, again, it sucks that we're not in this particular matchup, but again, I'm still going to enjoy this. And Springer gets hit by Yamamoto. And hopefully George is okay. And obviously we know the Mariners ended up hitting Springer on the knee. And that was kind of the hand area there. Hopefully George is okay. He might be a rival, with us, with the Astros and the Blue Jays. But again, the Mariners are not a dirty, team. And I don't think the Dodgers are either. And again, I hope that his wrist is okay. I don't wish injuries on anybody. Yeah, well, the game is in Pittsburgh, so it's not really going to matter what Green Bay fans react to. If the game was in Green Bay, then obviously some people would boo and some people would cheer, but the game is in Pittsburgh, so that factor is not going to be relevant. I mean, unless you get, Packer fans that travel to Pittsburgh, but based on their booing or cheering, it's not really going to be that much of a factor, since Pittsburgh is, going to have mostly Steeler fans in that, particular stadium. First pitch to Nathan Lucas, low and away, 0-1 count. Oh, 1 pitch, big swing and a miss, high and inside. No balls and 2 strikes to Nathan Lucas. Bottom of the third inning, 1-0 Dodger lead. 0-2 pitch, fouled off, high and away. No balls and 2 strikes to Nathan Lucas. Bottom of the third inning, 1-0 Dodgers. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train. And 5 to 15 subs. Let's go. 0-2 pitch, low and away with the splitter. 1 ball and 2 strikes from Yoshinobu Yamamoto to Nathan Lucas. Pitch fouled off, right down the middle with the splitter by Yamamoto. 1 ball and 2 strikes to Nathan Lucas. Bottom of the third inning, 1-0 Los Angeles. 1-2 pitch, big swing and a miss, high and away, and down goes Nathan Lucas, and that is 1 away. Yeah, we're getting kind of a pitcher's duel in this game. And again, this series is going to have a little bit of everything. You're going to have a lot of runs scored. You're going to have probably at least one game where it might be lower scoring, 2-1, 3-2, 4-3. And then obviously, you're going to get something kind of in the middle where you might end up getting like a 5-4 type of game as well. So, I think you're going to see a little bit of everything in this World Series. Low scoring, matchups. Maybe, there might be 1 or 2 of those. Games kind of in the middle should be the most common. And then there might be some big blowouts like we had in Game 1. First pitch from Yamamoto to Vladdy, takes a strike looking right down the middle, 0-1 count. Yamamoto on the mound, Vladdy in the box. And Vladdy crushes that all the way back to the wall off the National Car Rental sign. And now you're going to have runners at first and third. And we'll see if the Blue Jays can finally get someone to come home. Next up is Alejandro Kirk. And the Blue Jays are, doing a fantastic job against the starters of the Dodgers, which is probably shocking to them. They thought for sure Snell and Yamamoto would be lights out. But again, Toronto has gained a lot of momentum and good experience against Seattle in the ALCS and obviously previously to the Yankees. And they've been gaining momentum, every single game from the Yankees to the Mariners and now against the Dodgers. They have looked very, very good, here so far. First pitch, low and away, 1-0 count. Because I guarantee, a lot of the, Dodgers, fan base is hoping, that the starters can go as deep as possible so that way they don't have those meltdowns like we saw yesterday. Popped up into center field. Pages is there. And the tag up from Springer, and he comes home, and we got a 1-1 tie. Here we go. A nice RBI sac fly by Alejandro Kirk, and after Springer got hit on the wrist, he ends up coming home. He's a tough SOB, and now the score is tied 1-1 here in the bottom of the third inning with a runner at first with 2 outs. Next up is Dalton Varsho. And when the Dodgers were up 2-0 yesterday, he was the individual who hit that 2-run jack to tie the game up, to give them that momentum, and then they never looked back after that. Yeah, and again, when you can get hit by a pitch or you can get a walk and you get that freebie on board, it really does help, if you can get someone to knock you in instead of just, having him get a hit himself. You got to be able to take advantage of the pitcher's mistakes at all times. First pitch, high and inside to Varsho, 1-0 count. 1-0 pitch in play. And Freeman is there. Go tap on the bag, and that is out number 3. And now let's go to the top of the fourth inning with a 1-1 tie. Nice job by the Blue Jays there by Alejandro Kirk to get that big sac fly RBI. Huge. 1-1 Dodgers and Blue Jays. Next up in the top of the fourth inning, 1-for-1 with a run, first baseman Freddie Freeman. Batting second, 1-for-1 with an RBI, Will Smith. And batting third, 0-for-1 with a K, right fielder Teoscar Hernandez. Let's take a look at the stats for the pitchers, which we usually do around 3 or 4 innings in. All right, so Yamamoto, 3 innings pitched, 4 hits, 1 earned run, no walks, 4 Ks, 46 pitches, 32 strikes. And let's go with Kevin Gossman, 3 innings pitched, 2 hits, 1 earned run, no walks, 2 Ks, 42 pitches, 30 strikes. So pretty similar. Obviously, Yamamoto's got 2 more Ks. He's got 4, and Gossman's only has 2, but they both have no walks, which is ideal. And obviously, they both have only given up 1 earned run. Yamamoto has given up 4 hits and Gossman 2. So again, pretty even up to this point. And again, we will see what bats come alive. Springer, Lucas, and Vladdy getting the job done at the top of the order. And obviously, we'll see if we can get, Varsho and Kiner, Falefa, and Jimenez. Obviously, with Kiner, Falefa, and Jimenez at the bottom of the order to get going as well as Addison Barger. And the top of the order, Ohtani and Betts haven't got going yet. Freeman and Smith are doing their job. And then the rest of the lineup from Teoscar all the way down from Muncy, Kike, Edman, and Pajes still are waiting on their first hit. World Series game number 2, Los Angeles Dodgers, Toronto Blue Jays. Blue Jays up 1-0 on the series with a big Game 1 victory win, 11-4 yesterday. And we will see what we get here today. And first pitch to Freddie Freeman. And that goes all the way back to the warning track. And Varsho is there, and that is 1 away. Good defense there by Varsho in center. Next up is Will Smith. Top of the 4th inning, 1-1, Dodgers and Blue Jays. Gossman on the mound, Will Smith in the box. Yeah, both pitchers' pitch counts are, relatively low at this point. 43 for Gossman and only 46 for Yamamoto. So not a 30-pitch meltdown by Snell in the first inning. Nothing like that here today. And you can tell how desperate they were is that they let Snell go to 100 pitches, because they knew, what was going to happen, momentarily. And I think it was much worse than they anticipated. 0-1 pitch in play and popped up into right field. And Will Smith is out in right. And that is 2 away. And Addison Barger is there. 2 away. Next up is Teoscar Hernandez. And, Teoscar, if the Dodgers are going to end up winning this World Series, he's got to be a factor. He's got to be that guy that hits a home run, at least in a few of these games. And he might need to be able to be a guy that hits 2 home runs in a game or 2, for the Dodgers to win. And again, he's going to probably have to do it at least once in Toronto and once in LA. And again, Teoscar is one of those guys, again, you got Shohei, you got Mookie, you got Freddie, you got plenty of talent at the top. But sometimes those guys, start a little slow and someone else needs to pick up the pace. And we know Kike, obviously is a great postseason player, much better than the regular. But Teoscar definitely has the talent to be a game changer. And we'll see if he ends up, bringing the wood, obviously, for a big home run at some point today or in the series. Big swing and a miss, low and away. No balls and 2 strikes from Gossman to Teoscar. Second half about to start here between the Oregon Ducks and the Wisconsin Badgers. Hopefully Oregon will be able to pull away. 0-2 pitch and takes strike 3, looking low and away. Great pitch there by Gossman. And we're going to go to the bottom of the 4th inning with a 1-1 tie. A nice job by Kevin, matching the same kind of energy from Yamamoto. Great job by both pitchers up to this point. Way to bring the electricity for the Blue Jays. See who's up next here in the bottom of the fourth. About halfway through game number 2, and a much different story than obviously we saw yesterday. But once the starters go out, then that's when the magic is going to happen. And we know the Blue Jays have some suspect guys in the pen as well. Maybe not as bad as the Dodgers, but there are a few guys that have had some meltdowns recently. Next up, 1-for-1, third baseman Ernie Clement. Batting second, 0-for-1 with a K, right fielder Addison Barger came off the bench and hit a grand salami. What do you know? And batting third, 0-for-1, second baseman Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. Yeah, I think there's a pretty good chance of that happening. Bottom of the fourth inning, 1-1, Dodgers and Blue Jays. Dante Moore just got clotheslined. Obviously, when he had his helmet on his nose and was exiting the game, hopefully he'll be able to get back in there. It's going to be hard to be able to win the game if Dante Moore can't play. Ernie Clement in the box, Yoshinobu Yamamoto on the mound. First pitch from Yamamoto to Clement, low and away, 1-0 count. I did not get a chance. Obviously, I had that, kind of in, my range of things to try to get done and whatnot. 1-0 pitch, and Clement grounds out to first, toe tap on the bag, and that is 1 away. I was actually spending, some time with my pup, and, I try to do, 5 miles a day, and we've had some pretty poor weather here in the Pacific Northwest, but, regardless if it's sunny or if it's raining, we go out there and usually walk 30 to 45 minutes for each walk, to get that 5 miles in every single day. And obviously, if I didn't do that, then I probably would have had a chance to watch that. But yeah, I did not get a chance to watch any of it. Did you get a chance to watch any of the fights at all? Anything crazy that happened? I mean, I saw the reactions of some of the individuals, like the one female fighter that ended up winning, and she went down to 2 knees and started crying. And Barger hits it deep into center field, but Pajes is there, and that is 2 away. But usually if there's something relevant for like UFC or boxing, I typically do, tune in. It just kind of depends on what else is going on. I mean, I woke up early to watch Indiana and UCLA at 9 a.m. because of Gus Johnson and Joel Klatt. But obviously after a few quarters, you could kind of tell that was going to be a blowout. Indiana is the real deal. First pitch to Kiner-Falefa, high and away, 1-0 count. Kiner-Falefa in the box, Yamamoto on the mound. 1-0 pitch, low and away with a sinker. 2 balls and no strikes to Kiner-Falefa. And a little slow dribbler there. Throw to first, and that is out number 3. Very efficient defense for the Dodgers and the Blue Jays up to this point. It's a pitcher's duel. End of the fourth inning, 1-1, Dodgers and Blue Jays. Let's see who's up next here for the Dodgers in the top of the fifth. Leading off for the Dodgers, 0 for 1, Mad Max Muncy. Batting second, 0 for 1, left fielder Kike Hernandez. And batting third, 0 for 1 with a K, second baseman Tommy Edman. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on the dono train. So we're looking for our first dono on our dono train, and we only need 18 subs to be able to get to 23,200. Nine more likes to 50. Let's get there. Yeah, I mean, based on how Indiana played last year and got a quarterback in the portal and then got another one with Mendoza this year, that's even better. You know, Indiana is turning into a football school. And again, you know, they haven't really been good on the basketball side for quite some time. And, you know, good for them. They got an amazing head coach. And I love seeing, you know, schools that normally aren't relevant and aren't good, and then they turn into, you know, being a powerhouse. I think it's great for college football. Now, obviously, I didn't like losing, you know, to Indiana, but I already kind of felt like we were, you know, coming into that game. You know, they were the only team that was in the top 10 in offense, defense, and special teams. And honestly, Indiana could possibly, you know, match up with Ohio State this year, and they could beat them. You know, obviously we know Ohio State is amazing. They won the Natty last year, and they're very good with Sayin, their new quarterback this year. But that's kind of the matchup that I want to see. I want to see Indiana and Ohio State go head to head and, you know, see if Indiana can actually pull off the miracle. But it may not necessarily be a miracle. Indiana is the real deal. They're a little bit more well-rounded. Obviously, Ohio State's got more, you know, blue chippers and more five-star recruits. But the way that Indiana has been playing, you know, it kind of feels like they can beat pretty much anybody. Let's go to the top of the fifth inning, 1-1, Dodgers and Blue Jays. First pitch to Muncy, low and at the knees, 1-0 count. 1-0 pitch, takes a strike looking low and in the zone. 1 ball and 1 strike to Max Muncy. Touchdown, Oregon. There we go. I like seeing that. And now they're, you know, obviously it's only 14-0, but let's see if they'll be able to pull away a little bit more. Great run after the catch. Beautiful. Nice job, Ducks. 1-1 pitch. Big swing and a miss. High and away. 1 ball and 2 strikes from Gossman to Muncy. Top of the fifth inning. 1-1 tie in a pitcher's duel. One-two pitch, low and at the knees. Misses the strike zone on that corner, maybe by an inch or two. 2 balls and 2 strikes from Gossman to Muncy. 2-2 pitch, big swing and a miss, low and inside, and that is 1 away. Nice punch out there by Gossman. I see you, Kevin, bringing that electricity, matching the energy of Yoshinobu. I see you. Next up is Kike Hernandez, 0 for 1. Let's see if Kike can find a way to get a big hit here. You know, and he always ends up being an X factor at some point, especially in the postseason. First pitch, fouls it off right down the middle, 0-1 count. Top of the fifth inning, 1-1, Dodgers and Blue Jays. One pitch, takes strike looking low and at the knees. Probably should have been called ball there, but they get the strike call. No balls and 2 strikes. Should be 1 ball and 1 strike to Kike Hernandez. But that was outside of the box. And again, we will see how this ends up being called, throughout the series and throughout this particular matchup today. 0-2 pitch, low and away. Splitter missing, 86 miles an hour off speed by Gausman. And it goes into the dirt there. 1 ball and 2 strikes with nobody on and 1 out. 1-1 Dodger Blue Jay tie here in World Series game number 2. 1-2 pitch, big swing and a miss, and a nasty pitch there by Gausman, and that is 2 away. Nice job by Kevin. And again, the pitchers are doing a fantastic job here early on with Gausman and Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Next up, second baseman Tommy Edman. And the game is really going to get interesting here, obviously, once these starting pitchers go out. But again, the Blue Jays probably don't mind at one point or another, if Gausman ends up exiting at a normal time. But the pitch count is so low right now, 57 and 52. Maybe both guys are going to go like 7 or 8 innings, so that way they don't have to worry about a meltdown by one of the guys, coming in from the pen, or multiple guys like yesterday for the Dodgers that ended up, and obviously Snell didn't put them in a very good position when he, left the game with bases loaded. And obviously, with the struggles they've had in the pen, it wouldn't have really mattered if there was bases loaded or not, based on the past history of this team in 2025. And Barger is there with that pop-up in right, and down goes Tommy Edman, and that is out number 3. Let's go to the bottom of the 5th inning and see who's up next here for the Blue Jays. Next up, 0 for 1 in the 9-hole, shortstop Andres Jimenez. Batting second, 1 for 1 with a run, DHing George Springer. And batting third, 1 for 2 with a K, left fielder Nathan Lucas. Sarah in the building, how are you? Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on the dono train. And we're only 18 subs away from 23,200. Let's go. And shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. Yeah, Ducks started off really, really slow. I woke up early, Sarah, to watch Indiana and UCLA. And we know UCLA, dropped the first 3 or 4 games, fired their coach, Deshaun Foster. And then you ended up, going on a big win streak after they beat Penn State and won 3 in a row. But I did have a hunch, that Indiana was really going to flex on them at some point, and they did. And again, Indiana, looking like they could be right there with Ohio State. And that's really who I want to see play each other this year, and again, great for Indiana, to transition from normally being from back in the day, known as like Bobby Knight and, basketball with like Calvert Chaney and, certain individuals. And they haven't really been very relevant on the basketball side. But again, with their amazing head coach, they got a quarterback in the portal, did a pretty good job, got another one this year with Mendoza, who's even better. And again, they're having great success, being top 10 on offense, defense, and special teams. And, again, I don't know if there's very many teams that could beat Indiana this year. Maybe Ohio State and a couple others, but Again, Indiana looks very, very good. 41-3. Wow. A whooping. And obviously, Oregon didn't get their first touchdown until 1 minute before halftime. And they're celebrating the Grateful Dead with their Grateful Ducks uniforms today. And again, I'm a little shocked that it took them that long to score. But again, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And, we'll see what the final score ends up being. First pitch from Yamamoto to Jimenez, fouls it off right down the middle. 0-1 count. 0-1 pitch, high and away. 1 ball and 1 strike to Andres Jimenez. That's impressive. And we know Iowa knows how to develop, college players to the pros. There's no doubt about that. 1-1 pitch. And Jimenez lines out to left to Kike Hernandez, and that is 1 away. Next up, DHing George Springer. Yeah, and again, for all the support that we end up getting, obviously between now and around the 20th of November, I'm going to try to be able to, raise enough funds so that way we can get some new beat software for him. Again, the software is not cheap. And I told them, based on, the support that we get, I would like to be able to, pay it forward and be able to split, the software with them, which is $250. So $125 is quite a bit. But again, I think he's an amazing talent. And, when you got dreams and goals, you got to be able to support those people when you can. And a little slow dribbler there by Springer, throw to first, and that is 2 away. But I can only imagine once me and him split, that new software, and then he starts making beats, in the middle of November, going into 2026. Again, he'll have more access to different applications, sounds, and it's going to be amazing to see what he'll be able to come up with his creativity. Very excited. First pitch from Yamamoto to Nathan Lucas, high and away, 1-0 count. 1-0 pitch, takes a strike swinging right down the middle. 1 ball and 1 strike to Nathan Lucas. Yoshinobu Yamamoto on the mound, Nathan Lucas in the box. Appreciate you, Sarah. $5 holla, 95 to go to hit our goal. Thank you so much. Every dollar counts. All I need is just to be able to pay the basic bills, take care of my pup, and raise some money for Brooks so that way we can get him some new software to make some more amazing beats and to take his music to that next level. End of the 5th inning. Let's go to the top of the 6th and see who's up next here for the Dodgers. I appreciate that. Next up for the Dodgers here in the top of the 6th, 0 for 1, center fielder in the 9-hole, Andy Pages. Batting second, 0 for 2, DHing Shohei Ohtani. And batting third, 0 for 2, Mookie Betts. Well, you know what? I think not only as a Yankee fan, a Mariner fan, a Brewer fan, all of us are in the same boat. For any of those fan bases, Brewers, Mariners, or Yankees, we almost wish there isn't a winner, between the Blue Jays or the Dodgers. It's kind of a non-win-win, for whatever happens, right? Because we wanted to be the teams that were there. And, it's just kind of heartbreaking, when you end up making it to the playoffs and then you just don't get the job done. And, Again, this is obviously a matchup that we really didn't know how it was going to play out. And obviously, I watched a lot of Dodger baseball during the regular season, so I already knew that their bullpen was their big weakness. And again, if the Blue Jays were going to win the World Series, they would have to exploit that. And they obviously did in Game 1. And obviously, we'll see if that happens here in Game 2. And again, we assume that the bullpen will play a little bit better at home than on the road, but they still have so many holes. And the way that they combated that during the regular season, they would try to get their pitchers to pitch, 6, 7, 8, 9 innings if they could, so that way they wouldn't have to bring anybody else in, maybe besides Roki Sasaki, the closer. And if they could go the whole game with only having 2 pitchers or 3, they felt pretty good on top of all the hits that they would get in home runs. But then if the game is kind of close, and then you have to bring in 2, 3 guys from the pen like they did yesterday, we saw how that turned out. Not very good for the Dodgers and very, very good for Toronto. I mean, I can see that mindset, if the Blue Jays win it all, it's like a David Goliath story, then it would make people feel like the Mariners and the Brewers, they might have a chance, the next time that they end up going. So, obviously, we'll see how it all plays out. Obviously it goes 2-3-2. And obviously if the Blue Jays end up taking the first 2 games, that will definitely improve their chances of winning it all. And most of the time, if you end up winning Game 1, I believe it's like 67 to 70% chance that team ends up winning it all. So we'll see how it goes. But again, anything is possible in baseball. Yeah. And honestly, it was one bad pitch by Bizzardo, and that was the best player. And I think it really teaches you that even great players fuck up once in a while. If Bizzardo doesn't throw that one pitch to Springer, I do believe that we would have won 3-1 and we would have ended up going to the World Series. Who knows if we would have been able to beat the Dodgers. But again, with those bullpen pitchers that are very shaky, I think that the Mariners could have, done something similar that Toronto did if that same situation would have happened with us. So we'll see how it goes. But again, you also have to remember, that was the first time Seattle won the AL West in 20 plus years. We've gone to the playoffs 2 times out of the last 3 years, but again, since 2022, that's where we need to look at where the team is going, not what we did in 95, 97, 2000, 2001. It's pretty much, we have to look at the team as it was built when we had Cal and Julio, and obviously Kirby and Gilbert and Miller and, those, kind of core pieces, so again, from 2022 to 2042 in that 20-year gap, we should be able to make the playoffs. You would assume 13 out of 20 years. There'll be a few years that we miss it. And again, if we can start winning the AL West on a regular basis and start going to the playoffs on a regular basis, you would assume sooner than later, we'll eventually make it. We might not win the World Series the first time that we go, but you would assume in the next 20 years, we'll hopefully be able to go at least twice and hopefully win at least once. Obviously if we go twice and win twice, that would be the best case scenario, but you have to be kind of realistic as well. But I mean, I like the direction of where the team is going. You know, we can get rid of Garver. We'll have Harry Ford as the backup to Cal. We can let Gino go. We can let Caleb Ferguson go. You know, try to trade Luis Castillo so we can start Cade Anderson, our draft pick from LSU. So that way we can have finally a lefty, you know, in our starting rotation. You know, re-sign Naylor and Polo. You know, bring up Colt Emerson from AAA. And then, you know, see how Cole Young and Ben Williamson look and grab guys and free agency from the bullpen bullpen, because obviously that's the weakest spot for our team. And, and just go from there. And as long as we continue, to have faith in each other, eventually good things are going to happen for us on a regular basis. And again, for Cal to say the season was a failure, I mean, it wasn't overall based on all the things we accomplished, but our team was good enough to make the World Series and win it this year. And that's why he, called it kind of a failure. And again, if you have high standards, again, it's going to definitely, raise the bar for everyone in the organization. And I like it. You can't be just satisfied winning the AL West and just be satisfied, being in the playoffs. It's World Series or bust. And there's not very many teams that have that kind of mentality. Dodgers, Yankees, based off their success and history. But again, if we can have that mentality and actually have the players to back it up, I think that would be great for us. Not everyone is going to have a Tom Brady, that can come in and change the culture like he did in Tampa. And again, if we can, build off Cal and Julio and the rest, and especially Josh Naylor, getting him re-signed, things could be very good for us moving forward. Pages in the box. Gossman still on the mound. And first pitch, and he lines out to right. Nice catch there in right field. And that is one away. Next up is Shohei Ohtani. Yeah, and I don't think, he was saying it, that obviously, saying like the AL West didn't matter, that did matter. Beating the Tigers, in 15 innings in Game 5, that mattered. It's just the mindset of, win it all or bust. And I like that from Cal, and I think a lot of the other players felt that too. We weren't just satisfied, even though it was like our first time being in that situation. It felt like genuine and real, that we actually could make it and we could, win it. And, again, we just have to be able to take it step by step. You got a lot of times you got to lose before you win. You got to crawl before you walk. It's very rare where, you make the playoffs for the first time and you go all the way and win it the first time around. It's very rare for that to happen. So I'm very confident in where the team is going. 1-0 pitch, takes a strike looking low and away. 1 ball and 1 strike to Shohei Ohtani. And again, we have one of the best farm systems, great pitching with Durangelo and Cade. Things are looking good. And Ohtani fouls out to third, and that is 2 away. Next up is shortstop Mookie Betts. Top of the 6th inning, 1-1, Dodgers and Blue Jays in a pitcher's duel. But once we get Gossman and Yamamoto to exit, then the game is going to heat up because we assume that the bullpens for both will be a little shaky. Dodgers much more shaky than Toronto. Toronto actually has a few guys in the pen that are, trustworthy, but they also have a few that are unreliable. And the Dodgers have a lot of guys that are unreliable besides their closer, Roki Sasaki. So, and they can't have Roki pitch, 3 innings. So, that's that. First pitch to Mookie Betts from Gossman, takes a strike looking right down the middle, 0-1 count. 0-1 pitch, and Betts fouls out to first, and that is out number 3. Great catch by Vladdy. And what happens when you end up making a great defensive play and then you end up coming up in the next inning? A lot of times a big home run or a big RBI. Leading off for the Blue Jays, 1 for 2 with a K, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Could we end up having Vladdy hit a home run just like a lot of the Mariner players did after they made a good defensive play in the previous inning? Very interested to see if Vladdy can make that prediction come true. Batting second, 0 for 1 with an RBI, catcher Alejandro Kirk. And batting third, 0 for 2 with a K, center fielder Dalton Varsho. (14-0) Ducks with about 6 minutes left in the third. Didn't get their first touchdown until 1 minute before halftime. Slow start, and obviously Wisconsin played them tough last year, and you knew that they were going to beat Wisconsin, but it looks like the rain is coming down, and that is a factor. A lot of players are slipping out there as they're wearing their Grateful Dead tribute uniforms, and again, we don't usually have too much rain at Autzen, but that has been a little bit of a factor here today. And hopefully when the game is over, the Huskies and the Ducks will be victorious. Shout out to the Washington Huskies. And I truly do believe, at some point, if Damon Williams ends up staying, at Washington for the next couple years, he might end up winning the Heisman. He's that good. He's like a Kyler Murray. He's got the speed, with his legs, he can throw. There's not very many guys that are in the game right now that are on his level. So if they can keep recruiting well, obviously they have Jonah Coleman and you got Denzel Boston, David Boston's son. They got a good offensive line, a good defense. They've been disrespected, not being able to be in the top 25, and I'm sick of it. It can definitely show you that the voters that have access to the AP poll and those other coaches polls, some of these individuals that have a vote, they don't watch West Coast football, and it shows. They don't stay up late, if they're located in New York or on the East Coast. And, I would love for the Huskies to get the proper respect that they deserve. And we'll see what happens with Damon Williams and Jonah Coleman and Denzel Boston in the future as well. But, I might be a Duck fan, but I always watch the Huskies. And again, they're very enjoyable to watch. Let's go to the bottom of the 6th inning, 1-1, Dodgers and Blue Jays. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train. And 5 to 15 subs. Let's get it. Leading off here in the bottom of the 6th with a 1-1 tie, Vladimir Guerrero Jr. made a great defensive play. Let's see if that bat comes alive now. Batting second on deck, Alejandro Kirk. And batting third, who hit a 2-run blast to tie the game up in Game 1 yesterday, Dalton Varsho. First pitch from Yamamoto to Vladdy. Takes a strike looking high and away, 0-1 count. 0-1 pitch, low and at the knees with the splitter. 1 ball and 1 strike to Vladimir Guerrero Jr. I wouldn't say that, Josh. It's a pitcher's duel right now. Yamamoto and Gossman are wheeling and dealing. So, obviously the game only opened up yesterday after Snell left. And then the game exploded, obviously, because the Dodgers don't have a good bullpen. That's the one weakness they have. But they have great starting pitching. They have great hitters. They got a great manager. And Dave Roberts, they just don't have a good bullpen. Slow dribbler up the middle. And that is 1 away. So I do think, once both starters go out, then the game opens up. So again, sometimes you're going to have a pitcher's duel. And Yamamoto is a great pitcher. And Gossman has been very good as of late also. First pitch to Alejandro Kirk, low and away, 1-0 count. Rob with a tenner, appreciate you. Thank you so much. And again, anything that we get, obviously, dono-wise, will go towards, obviously the basic bills of, the internet, the streaming feed, taking care of my pup, but primarily for Brooks and his new software that I want to be able to go halves on with him. And that'll definitely help going towards that next month. Thank you so much. We're at 15, 85 to go to hit the goal, and the software is 250. So, I want to be able to go 125 and 125 with him. Obviously paying 250 for software upgrades is a lot of money, but if I can, cover half for him, to help out with his dreams and goals, I definitely want to do that. 1-2 pitch, big swing and a miss by Alejandro Kirk. Yamamoto wheeling and dealing, and that is 2 away. Nice job by Yoshinobu Yamamoto with another punch out there, bringing that electricity for the Dodgers. Next up for Yamamoto will be Dalton Varsho. And the rain is coming down in Eugene. Holy cow. 14-0 against Wisconsin. First pitch from Yamamoto to Varsho. Inside, big swing and a miss, 0-1 count. 0-1 pitch, low and away. 1 ball and 1 strike to Dalton Varsho. I appreciate that, Rob. I appreciate Sarah as well. And we are on our way at this point. 15:85 to go on the Dono train. Bottom of the sixth, 1-1 tie. 1-1 pitch in play, and Varsho pops up to the shortstop, Mookie Betts, and that is out number 3. End of the sixth inning, 1-1, Dodgers and Blue Jays. And let's take a quick look to see what the pitch count is and the stats here. All right, so for Yoshinobu Yamamoto, 6 innings pitched, 4 hits, 1 earned run, 0 walks, 5 Ks, only 71 pitches. So obviously, if they can keep Yamamoto in all the way to the 8th inning, that's what they're going to want to do, so they don't have to have a meltdown like in game 1. Hell, they would probably let him go the whole way if they could, besides bringing in Sasaki Roki as the closer. And let's take a look at Kevin Gossman. 6 innings pitched, 2 hits, 1 earned run, no walks, 5 Ks, almost identical stats, except his pitch count is slightly lower at 65 pitches, 49 strikes. So both pitchers are doing a phenomenal job here. So again, you're not going to get anybody leaving, you would assume, until maybe the 8th inning. What would be the purpose? And if they are going to make a change, the Blue Jays would be the first team to do it. They're going to try to ride Yamamoto through 8 innings and bring in Roki Sasaki. With the Blue Jays, he's only at 65 pitches and he's done well. There's no point on pulling him, in the 7th. Again, once you get to the 8th inning, we'll see where the pitch count is. But, based on, the management decisions, that will be maybe the deciding factor on who ends up winning this game between the Dodgers and the Blue Jays. Let's go to the top of the 7th inning and see who is up next here for the Dodgers. And shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. Next up, 1 for 2 with a run, first baseman Freddie Freeman. Batting second, 1 for 2 with an RBI, catcher Will Smith. And batting third, 0 for 2 with 2 Ks, right fielder Teoscar Hernandez. All right, Judah says we just got to the 50 mark. Let's try to get to 100. We got 87 in the room. We'll peak over 100, especially when this game starts getting crazy. Let's go. Great job, TJ. 50 more to go to hit the goal, and we're at 15. 85 more to go to hit the Dono goal, and we only need 18 subs to get to 23,200. So if you haven't hit that sub button yet, please do. And that's why we need, people in the room to support. It's not just, TJ or Ahmad. It's also the regulars that we need help with. Everyone can, help out, in the chat, as you're watching the stream and watching the game. Just to encourage some of the individuals that maybe haven't hit the like button just yet to do that, to be able to help us with the metrics and the numbers. I'll be able to handle, obviously the subs, when they come in and whatnot and give updates, but, with the donos and the likes, obviously, we need a little help on that end. And popped up and popped out, and that is 1 away. Down goes Freddie Freeman. Next up is Will Smith. Yamamoto has retired 11 straight, Gossman 17 straight. Whoa. Boy in the building, what's good? First pitch from Gossman to Smith. Low and at the hips. 4-seam fastball, 94 miles an hour by Gossman. 1-0 count. Top of the 7th inning, 1-1 Dodgers and Blue Jays. A much different game than yesterday, when Snell had 30 pitches, and he's got one of the best whiff rates on 3 different pitches. But again, the Blue Jay hitters were not about that life. And there was a lot of extended at-bats. And again, when you have 30 pitches in the first inning, obviously he left at 100, But when you leave the game with bases loaded and then you have one of the worst bullpens, and again, you had 3 guys fail after that, no wonder they ended up getting blasted, after Snell left. And you got to give the Blue Jays credit for getting that Game 1 victory. With Addison Barger coming off the bench, hitting that grand salami was kind of the icing on the cake. 1-1 pitch, low and away, 2 balls and 1 strike to Will Smith. But in today's game, obviously both pitchers have low pitch counts. Both could go, 8 innings, no problem. And then again, we'll see kind of how it all plays out. Yeah, I'm watching the Oregon game as we're obviously doing the stream as well. Not a very great performance out there with all that rain, coming down. Patrick with a 6er. Appreciate you. Thank you so much. Another $6 holla on the Dono train. Appreciate you. Pitch fouled off there by Will Smith. Count still full. 3 balls and 2 strikes from Gossman to Smith. And I think it also shows, I'm not just a fanatic for the Mariners. I'm a fanatic for sports, and I love baseball. Obviously it hurts, not having the Mariners be in this game, but I'm not going to let that pain and that hurt, make me not do the World Series. So, especially if I'm going to be watching the games. And Smith crushes that one and gone. Double-decker home run by Will Smith, and he opens up the game finally here in the top of the 7th inning. Wow. Crushed that one. First home run in the postseason for Will Smith. 2-1 Dodger lead. Way to bring that electricity, Will Smith. Next up is Teoscar Hernandez. And even though Gossman gave up the home run, I wouldn't pull him. Again, they have some individuals in the pen, that are reliable. And they also have some that, have had some recent meltdowns. But I don't think I would pull him just yet. I definitely would let him finish this inning. Oh, 1 pitch, low and away. 1 ball and 1 strike to Teoscar Hernandez. Shout out to Sarah, Rob, and Patrick helping us out on the Dono train. We're at 21:79 to go to hit the Dono goal. And again, I feel like the World Series is going to be a little bit of everything. You're going to get a couple blowouts, by the Blue Jays and the Dodgers, each team. You're going to get a couple games like this where it might be kind of lower scoring, for a majority of the game. And then big plays will open the game up. And then you're also going to get games in the middle where it's going to be like 5-4, and again, it's going to give you everything that you want in a World Series, unless you're a Brewer, a Yankee, or a Mariner fan. Otherwise, you would want your team to be in the big game. And I get that. 1-2 pitch, low and away. Splitter missing off speed, 86 miles an hour by Gossman. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Teoscar Hernandez. Shannon in the building. What's good? Two pitch, big swing and a miss for Teoscar. And that is 2 away. Down goes Teoscar Hernandez from Gossman. And next up is Max Muncy. Top of the 7th inning, 2-1 Dodger lead after a big home run by Will Smith on Gossman there just a few minutes ago. And again, if you're a Blue Jay fan, nothing really to be too concerned about. You know that the Dodgers at some point are going to hit home runs and get big RBIs. Look at their roster, look at their salary. They're one of those teams. They're not going to just roll over. You're going to have to be able to earn it every single inning. And if you're a Blue Jay fan, you got a better bullpen than them. So Sasaki, the closer for the Dodgers, has been very good though. So if it gets to him, that's going to be tough. But we also have seen Sasaki, just like anybody else that's human, mess up as well. So very interested to see how this kind of plays out. 0-1 pitch, low and away. Splitter on the line, doesn't get the call. 1 ball and 1 strike to Max Muncy. And I appreciate you. And, I usually do the World Series. I mean, I've been doing the World Series matchup, for the last, 4, 5, 6 years. So just kind of painful that, the Mariners were 3 innings away from being in this game. But again, you have to have a starting point. You got to crawl before you walk. You got to lose before you win. And I'm very excited for next year and beyond. 1-1 pitch, big swing and a miss, low and away. 1 ball and 2 strikes with 2 outs and nobody on to Max Muncy. 2-1 Dodger lead here in the top of the 7th. And shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. 1-2 pitch, low and away, splitter missing off speed. 2 balls and 2 strikes with nobody on and 2 outs. Gossman on the mound, Muncy in the box. And Muncy crushes it all the way back to the wall and gone. And just like that, the Dodgers with 2 big solo dingers by Will Smith and Max Muncy, and they have opened the game up here on Gossman. And now you probably have to pull him. You don't want to get any more down than this. Big home run there by Mad Max Muncy. And again, if you're going to throw it right down the middle, eventually they're going to get you. And again, this kind of feels like it's going to be going, 6, 7 games. It doesn't feel like, it's going to be a sweep or it's going to be in 5. It feels like definitely 6, 7 games, and hopefully it goes 7. Great job, by the role players, Will Smith and Max Muncy. They needed that desperately because it's not going to always be Shohei Ohtani, Mookie Betts, and Freddie Freeman. You're going to have to get production in the middle of the order and in the bottom of the order. And today it ends up being in the middle of the order. Will Smith in the 4 spot, Muncy in the 6. And then if you get anything in the 7, 8, and 9, obviously that's a plus. And the 7, 8, and 9 for the Blue Jays has been more productive than the Dodgers. Kike, Tommy, obviously Edman and Andy Pajes. They're not terrible, but they're streaky. But you got Addison Barger, Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, and then Andres Jimenez. So, we'll see where it goes. But right now, Dodgers have all of the momentum, and now they're up 3-1. And now you're going to end up pulling Kevin, and you're going to bring in Louis Varland. And the Ducks just scored again. There we go, baby. 3rd touchdown of the game. 20-0 Ducks. Let's go. Slow start. They didn't get their first touchdown until 1 minute before halftime, but they're getting the job done here in the second half. Great job. All right, Louis Varland coming in, and let's look at the final line for Gossman. 6.2 innings pitched, 4 hits, 3 earned runs, no walks, 6 Ks, but unfortunately he gave up almost back-to-back home runs, 1 batter in between. Will Smith went yard, Teoscar got out, and then Muncy went yard. So nice job by Will and Max to get the job done and to open this game up. But again, if you're a Blue Jay fan, it's not over yet. Again, at some point, you would assume, once Yamamoto exits, and whenever that may be, you're going to have at least an inning to be able to try to find a way to get back in this game. But hopefully for their case, they'll have 2. But unfortunately, Yamamoto's only at 71 pitches. So again, it's kind of falling into their favor where they wanted Yamamoto to pitch 8 innings today. And that looks like what you're going to probably get. And then they'll bring in Roki to close the game out. And first pitch by Kike Hernandez pops up into right field, and that is out number 3. Let's go to the bottom of the 7th inning and see if the Blue Jays can get a run or tie this game up. Next up for the Blue Jays, 1 for 2, 6-hole hitter, third baseman Ernie Clement. Batting second, 0 for 2 with a K, right fielder Addison Barger. Had a big grand salami as a pinch hitter yesterday. Can he come up big here for the Blue Jays today? We will find out. And batting third, 0 for 2, second baseman Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. Now, do they go with Kiner-Falefa or do they let Bo Bichette come into the game and pinch hit? We will find out. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train. And 18 subs away from 23,200. And it looks like we've gained 3 subs since the last commercial break. Thank you to those 3 new subs. Now we only need 15 to go to 23,200. And shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. And, you know, a lot of the donations that we end up getting between now and next month, around November 20th, 21st, I definitely want to be able to invest in one of my really good friends and try to help his dreams and goals come true as well. And, you know, a lot of those donations will go towards getting that new beat software for him so he can continue to make great music, not only for the channel, but for himself individually. Bottom of the 7th inning, 3-1 Dodgers. Brock Thomas had to enter the game for Dante Moore, but obviously it's not going to be a factor of us losing the game. Hopefully Dante will be okay. Got hit in the nose with his helmet on with a kind of a clothesline attempt by a Wisconsin player and had to exit. So I was a little worried, if a backup had to come in, but we're up 21-0 with 14 minutes left in the fourth. Next up for Yoshinobu Yamamoto is Ernie Clement. First pitch to Clement, big swing and a miss, low and away, 0-1 count. (0-1) pitch, low and away with a cutter off speed, 91 miles an hour, 1 ball and 1 strike to Ernie Clement. But obviously, if you're a Dodger fan, you wanted to be able to split, in these first 2 games, and you got 3 games at home. And again, we don't know what kind of meltdowns the Dodgers are going to have at home, but there's a chance, that the Blue Jays could win 1 or 2 games in Los Angeles, and it could go 6 or 7 games, 100%. 1-2 pitch, high and inside. 4-seam fastball, 95 miles an hour by Yamamoto. 2 balls and 2 strikes. With nobody on and no outs, 3-1 Dodger lead. Big home runs by Will Smith, as well as Mad Max Muncy to open this game up. And again, this is kind of the strategy that they played throughout the regular season. Try to be able to get enough runs and keep the pitch count low for the starter so you don't have to have the bullpen come in, because we saw what happened when they came in yesterday. You don't win the game. And a throw to first, and down goes Ernie, and that is 1 away. After that slow dribbler to third, down goes Ernie Clement. Next up is Addison Barger. And they might have Yamamoto play a complete game. That wouldn't surprise me either. The Dodgers know that the less opportunity for anybody to come in besides the starter, obviously will be ideal for them. And a little slow dribbler there. Barger, flip to first. Yamamoto covering first off that toss, and that is 2 away. And you got Max Scherzer and Shane Bieber that are going to be going in Game 3, Game 4 in LA. So imagine if they didn't have those 2 veteran pitchers. Obviously that could have been the difference. And here we go. Bo Bichette coming into the game like I thought. I figured that they would have him come in for Isaiah Kiner-Falefa, and my prediction was correct. There he is, Bo Bichette. See if Bo can end up being a factor here. Probably should have started Bo Bichette after starting him yesterday, but obviously they're monitoring, obviously the health of Bo after missing so much time, during the regular season and obviously the postseason. Bottom of the 7th inning, 3-1 Dodgers. Bo Bichette pinch hitting for Isaiah Kiner-Falefa. And they got Yamamoto still on the mound. And I would assume as long as he doesn't get too roughed up, they're going to try to have him pitch the whole game. I mean, they had Snell go 100 pitches before they removed him. And that's pretty rare nowadays. Normally it's like in the 80s or the 90s, not typically, 100 where you pull a guy. But when you know that your bullpen stinks, then you're going to try to do that as often as you can, as long as the pitcher doesn't end up getting hurt or fatigued at that point. First pitch from Yamamoto to Bo, low and away on the corner, could have been called ball or strike. Cutter off speed 90 miles an hour by Yamamoto, 1-0 count. 21-0 Oregon over Wisconsin. 12 minutes left in the fourth there. And congratulations to the Huskies for their victory earlier today as well. And Bo with a slow dribbler, Mookie Betts and company are there. Throw to Freeman, and that is out number 3. End of the 7th inning, 3-1 Dodgers. And again, if Yamamoto is going to pitch the rest of the game, the chance of the Blue Jays coming back and winning this is very low. Again, it's not impossible to get a home run or a ribby off Yamamoto. But again, at this point, with each team with only 4 hits, and the Dodgers getting those big home runs late, it's going to, I don't want to say it's going to take a miracle because obviously you're only down 2, so again, you got 2 innings to go, but it definitely feels like this series is going to be tied up in a matter of a few minutes. Unless the Blue Jays can find, a way to have a mini meltdown by Yamamoto. He hits a guy, he walks a guy, and then someone like Vladdy or Springer hits a big 2-run jack to tie the game up, which could happen. We will see. Let's see who's up next here for the Dodgers in the top of the 8th inning. Next up for the Dodgers in the top of the 8th, 0-for-2 with a K, second baseman Tommy Edman. Batting second, 0-for-2, center fielder in the 9-hole, Andy Pages. And batting third, DHing, leading off, Shohei Ohtani. All right, let's take a look at Yamamoto's numbers through 7 innings. 7 innings pitched, 4 hits, 1 earned run, no walks, 5 Ks, 79 pitches, 53 strikes. So they're going to go Yamamoto the whole game. There's no doubt about it. With that pitch count where he's at right now, again, you could always put in, Roki Sasaki. But again, I would assume that they're going to go with Yamamoto for the complete game. And he's already done it before, during the regular season. So, it wouldn't be that shocking. But again, we don't really see pitchers go all 9 innings often. Back in my day growing up in the 80s and 90s, we saw it all the time, with Nolan Ryan and a lot of elite pitchers back in the day where they didn't really use, the bullpen as much as they do now. The game has changed pretty dramatically. Back in the day, they had pitchers go all 9 innings, the whole game, which is kind of wild, for guys, like Nolan Ryan, to never really have a major Tommy John surgery. He must be an alien. How do you pitch from 1968 to 1993 and you pitch the whole game for a majority of your whole career? You would never be able to see anything like that nowadays with anybody. Not even Skeens or Scooball would be able to do that. Pretty wild. First pitch to Tommy Edman, and he flies out to left, and that is 1 away. Nice pitch there by Louis Varland to get that first out. Next up, in the 9-hole for the Dodgers, center fielder Andy Pages. First pitch, takes a strike looking with the knuckle curve by Louis. 0-1 count. 0-1 pitch. Right down the middle should be another strike for Louis, but for whatever reason, Varland gets a ball. It's right in the middle of the plate, a little bit slightly to the left, but it's in the box. And I don't know how the hell you don't call that a strike. Should be 0-2 count right here. And the umping has just been absolutely ridiculous in the playoffs in 2025 and in the regular season. The ABS can't come soon enough. I mean, how do you call a ball when it's in the middle of the plate? And then you go one more pitch, and what happens? You give up a base hit. And that's the thing that pisses me off more than anything. You know, when you end up getting a call that ends up being wrong, and then the, at bat gets extended 1 or 2 or 3 more pitches, it typically leads to a hit, an RBI, or a home run. It just makes me sick to my stomach when I see bad calls like that. Next up is Shohei Ohtani. Ohtani in the box, Louis Varland on the mound. And first pitch for Ohtani, fouls it off. 0-1 count. Top of the 8th inning, 3-1 Dodger lead with a runner at first and 1 out. Right, Yamamoto 9 against the Brewers and the Brew Crew. Gave up that home run early and then was good the rest of the way for the most part. And Ohtani with a hard hit ball into right field. And Pages almost gets tagged out. That was close. Pages was, daydreaming right there, thinking, oh, do I go to third? And obviously that was very, very close. You got to have better awareness there as he leaps over that baseball. But a good throw by Barger, right on the money. And we may need to review that. Oh, he is safe. He did get his foot on the bag, but it was close. Not so close that you need to review it, but, within a second. Top of the 8th inning, 3-1 Dodgers. And let's see if they end up trying to review that. I mean, it's not really a review-worthy type of play, but, they are challenging the play. And the schedule for tomorrow, we'll end up doing Sunday Night Football with the Steelers hosting the Packers. Aaron Rodgers going against his former team. And then on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we'll do Game 3, Game 4, and Game 5 of the World Series in LA. Thursday Night Football. And then Friday and Saturday, Game 6 and Game 7 of the World Series, if we get to that point, which I assume we will. Feels like this is going to be a 6-game, 7-game series, and hopefully it goes 7. Runner at second is safe. Next up is Mookie Betts. First pitch to Mookie, low and away with that knuckle curve by Louis Varland. Off speed, 88 miles an hour, 1-0 count. Top of the 8th inning, 3-1 Dodger lead. Tyler in the building. What's good, brother? 1-0 pitch, takes a strike looking with the knuckle curve. 1 ball and 1 strike to Mookie Betts. 1-1 pitch, low and away, knuckle curve missing again by Louis Varland. 2 balls and 1 strike with runners at first and second and 1 out. Varland on the mound, Mookie in the box. 21-0 Ducks over Wisconsin. Even though they started very slow, didn't get their first touchdown until a minute to go before halftime. And then Dante Moore got hurt and had to exit the game, but looks like they're still going to be able to get the victory. Dodgers got all the momentum after the game was tied up 1-1 for the longest time. And then obviously we saw big home runs by Will Smith and Max Muncy, solo dingers each in the 7th inning that has expanded the Dodger lead at this point, if you're just tuning in. 2-2 pitch, high and away. Count now is full. 3 balls and 2 strikes to Mookie Betts. And you're only getting knuckle curves and four-seam fastballs out of Louis Varland. So that is a little alarming. And that is a walk for Mookie. Bases loaded. And now you're starting to see kind of the bullpen woes, for the Blue Jays. Not as bad as the Dodgers yesterday, but it definitely feels like this is going to be a series that's tied up. And then you got 3 games in LA. And even with that being said, Toronto is good enough to win a game or 2 in LA. So I don't think it's going to be Dodgers winning 3 games in a row, and then all of a sudden the World Series is over if they win today. I don't think it'll be Dodgers in 5. I definitely feel that this will go 6 or 7 games. But again, the Dodgers, if they can get their starting pitcher to play a complete game or go 8 innings, most of the starts, that's definitely going to improve their chances. The pitcher that ends up leaving early, like Snell did yesterday, then Toronto will be able to win those games. So obviously, if you're a Blue Jay fan, you just got to get that starter out. And, it's not going to be common to have a pitcher like Snell throw 30 pitches in the first inning. So they definitely got very lucky, with that start that they had against Snell, and then obviously obliterated the Dodger bullpen and got that big win yesterday. Next up is Freddie Freeman with bases loaded and 1 out. Yeah, well, Dodgers can't sweep because they lost game 1. So, as far as an overall sweep, but top of the 8th inning, 3-1 Dodger lead. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train. And we need 15 subs to get to 23,200. We got 123 in the room. We should be able to hit 100 likes. Let's go. And we're at 21 on the dono train, 79 to go to hit that goal as well. All right, TJ says we have 32 to go. We're at 68. If you're in the room and haven't hit that like button yet, please do. Regardless if you're rooting for the Dodgers, the Blue Jays, or someone else. And Hoffman is coming in for Louis Varland. And we'll see if Jeff Hoffman has any better luck than Louis Varland did. The lack of, being able to pitch, and there's a wild pitch right there, and a runner comes home, this game is over. 4-1 Dodgers. And again, just like we saw the Dodgers have a meltdown in their bullpen, now you're seeing the Blue Jays have a meltdown with theirs. And just like that, first pitch by Jeff Hoffman, Louis Varland only does knuckle curves 95% of the time and then does like one four-seam fastball. That's not ideal. And then now with that wild pitch, now it's 4-1 Dodgers. 1-0 pitch, high and away. 2 balls and no strikes to Freddie Freeman. And it shows you you're going to have more games won and lost by your bullpen and how they perform than any other position group in baseball. And that's how it's always been. And Freeman is intentionally walked after the first 2 were balls. Next up is Will Smith, who ended up hitting a home run in the 7th inning. First pitch from Hoffman to Smith, takes a strike looking right down the middle, 0-1 count. Top of the 8th inning, 4-1 Dodgers, bases loaded with 1 out. And, it does show you, as bad as the Dodgers looked in game 1 with their bullpen, they have enough firepower, on the roster to be able to bounce back. Some teams don't bounce back, but, obviously the Dodgers are one of those teams that, it's World Series or bust. So again, they are the champs from last year. And, if you want to be a champion this year, you have to go through them. And, it was a great, game one victory. But again, you also have to have concerns about your own bullpen, with Louis Varland and Jeff Hoffman so far. 0-1 pitch, low and away. 1 ball and 1 strike to Will Smith. And double play. And throw at first is late, and another run scores. Shohei Ohtani, 5-1 Dodgers. Next up is Teoscar Hernandez. And you should have went for the runner at home rather than trying to make that double play, but, First pitch from Hoffman to Teoscar Hernandez, takes a strike looking high and away, 0-1 count. But I definitely want to see a little back and forth by both teams, and I honestly hope this goes 7 games. I think that would be very exciting. 0-1 pitch, low and at the knees on the line. No balls and 2 strikes to Teoscar Hernandez. And you have to assume at some point Teoscar is going to go yard, and he might go yard, twice in a game, once or twice in the World Series, especially when the series gets moved back to LA. Top of the 8th inning, 5-1 Dodgers, runners at first and third with 2 outs. And Teoscar, big swing and a miss off that slider by Hoffman, and now that is the end of the Dodgers, but not after the damage was done. 5-1 LA. Now let's see if the Blue Jays can find a way to get a run or two to kind of get back into this matchup. And shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. My boy. Next up for the Blue Jays here in the bottom of the 8th, they got 2 innings to get 4 runs, so they got to try to get to 3 and then obviously get 2 in the 9th unless they can have an explosion inning of getting 3 or 4 runs here in the bottom of the 8th or the bottom of the 9th. Next up, 0 for 2, shortstop Andres Jimenez. Batting second, 1 for 2 with a run, DHing George Springer. And batting third, 1 for 3 with a K, left fielder Nathan Lucas. Now, if the Dodger bullpen was in the game in the 8th and the 9th, I think the Blue Jays could come back and they might be able to score 4 runs right now. But the only problem is the bullpen isn't going to be coming out. They're going to go with Yamamoto the whole game. He's only at 79 pitches. So they're going to ride him, even if it ends up going like 104, 105, he's going to pitch a complete game. They're not even going to, put in Roki Sasaki. And Roki has actually been really good for them as a closer. That might be the only piece that is reliable rather than the starters. You got Snell, you got Yamamoto, you got Shohei and a few others as starters, and Roki Sasaki as the closer might be the only one that you can really trust. Everybody else that you have in the bullpen that typically comes in the 6th, the 7th, the 8th, not trustworthy one bit. And we saw what they were capable of or not capable of yesterday in game 1. So we'll see how this plays out here. I appreciate that. Appreciate you. With that sub, we only need 14 subs to get to 23,200. We just broke 23,000 subs a couple days ago, so we're making some good ground. 5.1 million views on the channel. Next goal will be 10 million views, and obviously the next sub goal will be 25,000 subs, then 50, then 75, and then the long-term goal will be 100K. And obviously I know that will take some time, but I don't have any plans on stopping anytime soon. And I've already been doing this for 13 years. This is my 9th year on YouTube, 13 years streaming. Next year will be the magic year of 14 years and my 10th year on YouTube. 21-7 Oregon with 7:40 to go in the fourth. So it looks like Wisconsin finally got on the board. Appreciate that, Shannon. Andres Jimenez in the box. First pitch. Takes a strike in there. 0-1 count. Big swing and a miss by Jimenez behind in the count. 0-2. Jimenez in the box. Springer on deck. Nathan Lucas batting third. Slow dribbler towards first base, foul off that curveball off Yamamoto. No balls and 2 strikes to Andres Jimenez. Pitch fouled off into left field. Good souvenir for that fan there. No balls and 2 strikes to Andres Jimenez. And that's kind of been the strategy for the Dodgers all year. You know, if they can go with their starting pitcher as long as possible, because they know that their bullpen stinks, you know, and they get some offense, you know, like they did today by Will Smith and Max Muncy, then they feel comfortable. That's how they win games. They don't win games with their bullpen. They win games with their offense and their starting pitcher going the distance. 1-2 pitch, big swing and a miss from Jimenez, and that is 1 away. 26 more to get to 100, TJ. Let's get there, baby. Down goes Andres Jimenez. Next up is George Springer. Let's see if Springer can hit you with a home run here to kind of cut into this lead. But again, Yamamoto, you know, sometimes it feels like he gets better as the game goes on, which isn't really the case for a lot of guys that are starting pitchers. Sometimes you just get fatigued and you get worse as the game goes on. But there are a few guys, you know, that end up getting a little bit stronger, you know, as the game continues to go longer and longer. And Yamamoto is typically one of those guys. 0-1 pitch, takes a strike looking right down the middle. No balls and 2 strikes to George Springer. Oh-2 pitch, high and inside with the splitter. 1 ball and 2 strikes from Yamamoto to Springer. And that one almost hit Springer, and Springer has been, you know, hit on the wrist, obviously on the knee in the Mariner series. He's definitely been, you know, hurt a little bit. 1-2 pitch, big swing and a miss, high and inside. Tried to jam him and did, and that is 2 away. Next up is left fielder Nathan Lucas. Shout out to my boy Brooks Beats with the best beats on YouTube. My boy. I can't wait to be able to help him get that new beat software. And again, we're going to have amazing beats, you know, not only for this year, but every year moving forward. And again, such a talented individual. Can't wait to be able to see what he comes up with. First pitch from Yamamoto to Lucas. Takes a strike looking right down the middle. 0-1 count. 0-1 pitch, fouls it off, high and inside. No balls and 2 strikes to Nathan Lucas. 21-7 Ducks over Wisconsin with about 4 minutes to go, and a majority of that with the backup quarterback. We'll take that. Not the most ideal way, you know, to win a game, you know, especially with all that rain that came down, but, you know, a win is a win, even if it's ugly. 0-2 pitch, low and away by Yamamoto. Curveball missing. 1-2 pitch, big swing and a miss. Nope, he takes the strike 3 looking, and that is the end of the 8th inning. And the Blue Jays are down, obviously, to their last inning to come back, and it definitely feels like that's not going to happen. You know, they won game 1, so they got to feel good about that. But obviously, with 3 games in LA, the pressure will be on Toronto to, you know, win at least a game or 2. Otherwise, it may be over in 5. But I just don't think that the Dodgers, you know, as good as they are, you know, you have to assume the Blue Jays are going to win at least 1 in LA, you know, maybe 2, but, you know, probably 1. So I assume the series will go back to Toronto, you know, for, you know, game 6 or game 7 for the winner. All right, let's see who's up next here for the Dodgers in the top of the ninth. Next up, 1 for 3 with a run, RBI and a K, Mad Max Muncy, who ended up homering in the 7th inning with Will Smith to open this game up. Batting second, left fielder Kike Hernandez. And Kike is one of those guys that, you know, at some point he's going to heat up for the Dodgers, primarily at home. And batting third, second baseman, one of the heroes from last year, Tommy Edman. And now they're going to bring in Fisher for Jeff Hoffman. And we'll see if Braden Fisher has a meltdown or if he pitches well here for the Blue Jays. So Fisher coming in, relieving Jeff Hoffman. And they went Gossman, Varland, Hoffman, Fisher. And they've only gone with one pitcher all day, Yoshinobu Yamamoto. And that's exactly what they wanted. And that's what they were planning for going into this game. Everything, played out perfectly for them. And it definitely shows you there is a very high talent level from Japan coming over to the big leagues lately. Started off with Hideo Nomo, in the mid-90s, and it continues to get better and better as the years go on. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. Help us get to 100 likes, 100 on that dono train. And we only need 14 subs to get to 23,200. Let's go. And we gained 2 more subs since the last commercial break. Thank you so much. 12 subs to go to 23,200. First pitch coming in for Fisher to Max Muncy, high and away, 1-0 count. One 0 pitch, high and away, 2 balls and no strikes to Max Muncy. Shigetoshi Hasagawa, that's another good one. Daisuke Matsuzaka. I mean, there's been a lot of them. And then even guys that, weren't pitchers, like, Hideki Matsui and many, many others, since the mid-90s till now. Seiya Suzuki is phenomenal. Obviously when you're getting, people that are from Japan or Korea or anywhere in Asia, but you're definitely starting to see kind of a wave of players. But Seiya Suzuki for the Cubs might be one of the best positional players we've seen in quite some time. And Muncy has walked. Next up is Kike Hernandez. First pitch from Kike, bunts foul, 0-1 count. Fisher on the mound, Kike in the box. Top of the 9th inning, 5-1 Dodger lead. Fisher on the mound, Kike in the box. 0 for 3 with a pop-up and a strikeout. We'll see if he can go 1 for 4 here before the game is up. Top of the 9th inning, 5-1 Dodgers. 0-1 pitch in play. And Vladdy over the shoulder catch, Willie Mays style. Holy cow. What a grab. And that definitely could have been disaster. 1 away. Great job there by Vladdy. Next up is Tommy Edman. First pitch with the curveball. High and away, 1-0 count. One-0 pitch. Takes a strike looking high and away. 1 ball and 1 strike to Tommy Edman. Top of the 9th inning, 5-1, Dodger lead. One pitch, popped up, and Edman flies out to right, and that is 2 away. Down goes Tommy. Next up for the Dodgers in the 9-hole, center fielder Andy Pages. First pitch from Braden Fisher to Pages, high and away, 1-0 count. And again, it may not have been as an explosive meltdown as the Dodgers bullpen had against the Blue Jay hitters yesterday, but you definitely have seen pretty much every pitcher not really do a very good job, coming in. It's not as bad with Louis Varland, Jeff Hoffman, and Braden Fisher, but again, it was bad enough for the Dodgers to go from 1-1 to 5-1, so. Top of the 9th inning, 5-1, Dodger lead with a runner at first and 2 outs. Fisher on the mound, Pages in the box. Time is called. And we will be doing Sunday Night Football tomorrow. Steelers hosting the Packers. World Series Game 3, 4, and 5 on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday in LA. Thursday Night Football on Prime. And then Friday and Saturday, Game 6 and Game 7, if we get to that point, which I assume we will. 2-1 pitch, takes a strike looking right down the middle. 2 balls and 2 strikes from Fisher to Pages. And if they were able to get, Yamamoto out, then this game could be a little bit different. And Pages flies out to center. Varsho is there, and that is out number 3. All right, we go to the bottom of the 9th, and the Blue Jays need a miracle of all miracles. They need to score 4 to tie, 5 to win. And again, based on, not having to go into the bullpen at all, not even for one guy. I guess at this point, Yamamoto's at 93 pitches, and they're probably just going to stick with him. You could go with Roki Sasaki, and he could close the game out as well. But I think at this point, I would go with Yamamoto, because he's done it before. And again, even though he's at 93 pitches, I don't think that's too much for him. I think at this point he could go, 104 to 110, if it went that deep, and he'd be just fine. So, it's not very likely that Roki would give up 4 runs, but you never know. Let's see if the Blue Jays have the bats to potentially make some magic happen. Next up, 1 for 3 with a K, first baseman Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Batting second, 0 for 2 with an RBI and a K, Alejandro Kirk. And batting third, 0 for 3 with a K, center fielder Dalton Varsho. So you actually have a pretty good lineup there, with Vladdy, Kirk, and Varsho. Remember, Varsho hit the 2-run blast yesterday when the game was 2-0 Dodgers, and they tied it up 2-2. And then obviously later in the matchup, Barger came off the bench and hit a grand salami. But once Varsho hit the 2-run blast yesterday to tie it up 2-2, it was all Blue Jays after that. But again, that was because Snell ended up having kind of a mini meltdown and was at 100 pitches. And then you had 3-4 other guys in the pen come up and blow the game. So, not the same type of issue that we're having here today. All right, let's go to the bottom of the ninth inning. Dodgers up 5-1. And again, if the Dodgers are going to win the World Series, they have to have outings like this, and again, you're going to have guys go deep. The only problem is, they may only have a couple guys that could go super deep like this, Snell and Yamamoto. With Ohtani, you're probably only going to go 6 innings with him, maybe 7 at the most. And then based on any of other starter they have, same thing, maybe 6 innings. So let's see what Vladdy does here at his last potential at bat here in the bottom of the ninth, down by 4. And a great job by Yoshinobu Yamamoto, single-handedly willing this team to a victory. First pitch from Yamamoto to Vladdy, takes the strike looking low and away, 0-1 count. And if you've noticed when you watch this game, most of the pitches by Yamamoto have been in the box or near the box. He hasn't had too many where he's had meltdowns. Like, he's been very in the zone and almost has gotten a little bit stronger as the game has gone on, believe it or not. 0-1 pitch, fouled off low and at the knees. No balls and 2 strikes to Vladimir Guerrero Jr. You're not going to get a whole lot right down the middle, out of Yamamoto. You're more likely to have Roki Sasaki, blow a game throwing it right down the middle than Yamamoto, but everyone is human. 0-2 pitch, low and away. Splitter, 91 miles an hour by Yamamoto. No balls and 2 strikes to Vladimir Guerrero Jr. Hopefully Vladdy's okay. Looks like he fouled it off himself, which has been a common theme in baseball this year. And now the trainers are coming out to look at Vladdy. Like, sub, donate, comment, share. If you haven't smashed that like button yet, please do. We're here in the bottom of the ninth. We only need a few more people to hit that like button to hit that goal. Let's get it, baby. Giants, Eagles, Niners, Texans, Bills, Panthers, Browns, Patriots, and the Bucks and the Saints. 0-2 pitch, low and at the knees, 1 ball and 2 strikes to Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And that was right there in the box. Should have been called strike 3, but doesn't get the call. ABS can't come soon enough. 1-2 pitch, high and away. 2 balls and 2 strikes to Vladimir Guerrero Jr. It's crazy to be able to see pitches in the box called ball. And they got Roki Sasaki warming up. And a little slow dribbler there. And Freddie with the toe tap on the bag, so that way Yamamoto doesn't have to get in the way, and that is 1 away. 2 outs away from tying this World Series up 1-1. And again, a great job by the Dodgers recovering from a Game 1 disaster. Next up for the Blue Jays, 0 for 2 with an RBI and a K, Alejandro Kirk. On deck, Dalton Varsho. First pitch, takes a strike looking with the sinker right down the middle, 0-1 count. And again, that same location, that was called ball on Vladdy. So make it make sense. Have some consistency, but obviously we know with these umps, they're fucking terrible. And obviously, if it ends up going 7 games, you already know who you would want to be pitching in Game 7. You're looking at him. Yoshinobu Yamamoto. That would be who you would want to pitch if it gets to that point, if he pitches 3 times. I would have Yamamoto even over Snell. And nice diving catch there in the outfield. Wow. 2 away from Dean, the replacement that came in for Pages. You kidding me? Wow. And now they're down to their final batter, potentially, center fielder Dalton Varsho. First pitch from Yamamoto to Varsho, big swing and a miss, low and away, 0-1 count. And obviously my dad, being a Dodger fan since the 50s, this is more obviously the Dodger fan style of game rather than yesterday. So 0-1 pitch, big swing and a miss, no balls and 2 strikes to Dalton Varsho, 1 strike away from victory. I mean, this is the reason why you brought Yamamoto over from Japan, to be able to come up big in games just like this. 0-2 pitch, low and away, 1 ball and 2 strikes to Dalton Varsho. Yeah, and not only that, but they're good. It's one thing if you just have Asian players, but, we've had, seen some pretty good ones as of late. And then even, other players, like Seiya Suzuki on the Cubs, who might be one of the best Asian positional players that we've seen in a long time. And Varsho pops up to third, and that is the game. Final score, Dodgers 5, Blue Jays 1. The series is tied, and they fly to LA, and we will be obviously live for Sunday Night Football tomorrow while they're going to LA between the Steelers and the Packers. Aaron Rodgers going against Jordan Love, and Rodgers going against his former team, the Green Bay Packers. So we'll do that tomorrow night. And then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, we'll do game 3, game 4, game 5 in LA in the World Series. So I love you guys, and I appreciate you guys very much. TJ and company, thank you so much for your help to help us get our numbers as high as we could. Sarah, Rob, and Patrick, shout out to you guys for your Dono Train love as well. Obviously, that'll go towards Brooks and his new Beat software that we're going to be working up to getting for him next month. Appreciate every single one of you guys. Love you and appreciate you. And again, I will be back tomorrow for Sunday Night Football between the Steelers and the Packers. And then on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, World Series game 3, 4, and 5 in LA. Love you guys, and I appreciate you guys very much. Don't forget to hit that like button or that sub button on the way out. And I got one question for you. Who talks sports like us? Your boy Ryan, Northwest Sports Fanatics. Final score, Dodgers 5, Blue Jays 1, and I'm out. Gang.